Hello, everyone. It is Naomi Glay, the founder of PowerTalk, and we are here today doing a PowerTalk mini-series, and I have a very special guest by the name of Dr. Alvin Glay. I am so excited for you to be here today.
Happy to be here.
Yes.
Happy to be here. And we have the same last name, but we're not related.
At all.
Exactly. Just so they know,
Just a disclaimer,
Yeah.
crazy that we're from Liberia, but two different tribes within Liberia, no relation whatsoever.
Exactly.
So absolutely, can you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Alvin Glay. I am a marketing strategist. I'm also an author. Just recently wrote a book called Liberian Boy, Triumph Over Wall Shadow. I'm also a research associate at Georgia State University. Yeah, that's who I am.
Wow, you have some accolades, doctor. So we're gonna jump right into it.
Okay.
So this Power Talk, we'll be talking about grief. And I know that you can relate to the topic as myself can also relate. And when you hear the word resilience, what does that mean to you?
Resilient means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's all about when you're at your lowest, right? How do you get out of it, right? So that gritty mindset. So resilience equals grit. How do you pull through to wake up the next day to really just triumph over whatever that trials is? So when I think about resilience, it's all about just grit.
Grit, wow. And I'm sure you have some grit to you with everything that you've endured.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my entire book is about. Talking about at the age of 7, I was a Liberian refugee. You know, a lot of Liberians can relate to that, right? So I lost my childhood at 7 years old. I have a son who's 10, and at 7, basically the survival of the fittest, learning how to, basically navigate throughout the Civil War. Living in refugee camp in Ivory Coast and coming to that and not really having a formal education. So that's the first thing. And then I came to America and trying to integrate into the system here and going through that. You're not from here, you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, you don't know the people, all the little different norms, right? So you gotta learn that.
Wow, you said something though. How does one become not formally educated to now having a doctorate?
It's a process. I have a thing that says about the destination, not the journey. For me, I never envisioned getting a doctorate. The moment that I decided to get a doctorate was when I was graduating from my MBA at Mercer University. And when I looked in front of me, I saw a bunch of black folks who were getting their PhD. And that was a moment of inspiration for me. And I was like, I got to do that, right? Because, I don't know if you know, there's less than 5% of people globally, almost 8 billion people in the world have a doctorate or a PhD.
No, I had not a clue.
Less than 1% of black folks. So for me, in that moment, seeing someone who looked like me has a doctorate, I said, I want to do it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just said I wanted to do it.
But you did it.
And, next thing you know, 4 years later, there you go. Same thing. I didn't know that I was going to get a master's until I was at work, and they said, hey, we think you are going to be one of our leaders in this organization just because of who you are.
And that's resilience of the mind. That there is resilience. That's the true definition. We need a dictionary, and your name would be right by it.
I try. It's all about just conquering one thing at a time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. So you've lived through displacement, you've built legacy, and now you teach it. But who is Alvin outside the titles and the degrees? Just the man. Who is Alvin Glay?
That's such a loaded question. I don't think anyone ever asked me that before. I'm just a man who just trying to live a purposeful life. And what that means is if I can lend a hand to anyone as best as I can within my means, I find fulfillment in doing that.
Wow, that's deep.
That's my life mission, right? And number 2, I'm a football player. I love football. Not American football,
okay.
The real football. That's my happy place when there's stress. So you can probably catch me around in Atlanta, with the Liberian old folks. I still think I'm 25. And I'm a father. Those are the things, and for me, it's all about doing that and just building genuine connection with people and just living life to the fullest. Because for me, tomorrow's not promised.
Absolutely.
And those, it's funny. I never used to think about it that way. Every time you hear people say tomorrow's not promised, and you're like, yeah, until it happens to you. And then life has a different meaning because it's close.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can 100% relate to that. There's been plenty of times where when people go through loss, you're like, I'm sorry for your loss, I'll pray for you. Until it happens to you, you can't hear, I'm sorry for your loss. You don't hear the prayers, even though they may be praying for you genuinely, or maybe they're not and they're just saying it just to console you. It is a different meaning, and I absolutely love that. So you're a father, you're a football player, and you're just a man.
Yep, just a man. I'm just a man. As manly as that can be, I am.
I love it. I love it. So you lived through a civil war, then turned around and built a career only most people can only dream of. Was there any moment in your journey where you felt like it might fall apart?
Oh man, I have so many, and I talk about it in my book. When I came to America, I felt like, football, soccer was kind of like my path. For the first time, I wasn't worried about dying. It was all about getting, education, because education was the path. And I use football, American people call it soccer, as the pathway to do that. So I went to college, full scholarship, got a degree in finance. But then I thought that was enough, but I graduated, and for 3 years, I couldn't get a job.
Wow.
So here I was, finance degree from Georgia State University, right? One of the top 50 schools in the U.S. I was valet parking cars in the street of Atlanta. Some of my classmates that I went to school with used to come to the club and the restaurant and throw their keys at me. So imagine the folks that you go to school with, right? And they go off and have these big jobs, and there you are parking cars. I need a high school education for that, to park cars. But that was just one thing I had to get over. So for the first time, it felt like a personal rejection.
For sure.
Right? But then I was like, you know what? That's just one thing I got to get over. I survived a war. So what I did, I heard about digital marketing. I bought a book off of Amazon. I read it. And then I started applying for jobs, and I studied that thing, and that's how I got into marketing.
Wow. That is a remarkable
story.
So
my story, that's why when I talk about it, it's about the destination, not the journey. It's like you have a vision of where you want to go, but it doesn't matter how you get there. There are a lot of different obstacles. So that was one aspect. And then for 10 years, I thought this was the best time of my life. I've conquered the world, I got the big jobs and all that stuff. And then my brother passed away, he got murdered. So that became a turning point for me. The very next year, my grandmother passed away. And then the very next year after that, I got a divorce, right? And then the very next year after that, I lost my older brother.
Wow.
Right, so it's like, okay, you think you're at the highest of the highest, you've overcome it, and then everything just comes crashing down. So all of those, trials that I've overcome in my life, which I talk about in my book in totality, is, even though it's titled Liberian Boy, but it's about how does one overcome life's toughest challenges to become the best of themselves. So I talk about this beauty on the other side of pain. Because as you're going through some of those challenges, it builds resilience in you. So when I talk about grit,
For sure.
right, there's nothing that comes ahead that you can't overcome, because you're like, you know what, I'm built for this.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. That was a lot and gave me a little bit of insight more into your world, right? Like, of course, I went to your book signing, but even just kind of now having this one-on-one interaction, it kind of gives a different meaning to the man you are. And so I just appreciate you just sharing that bit. When you think of that boy in Liberia in that refugee camp, what would you say to him?
When I think about that question, it's going to be okay. Right. It's going to be okay, because there's so much that's ahead of you that you're going to overcome, but you just don't know it.
Yeah.
You know, today might seem like it's the end of the world, but who would know, right? When you see me, you just think like, oh man, this guy just had a perfect sort of life, but that's all I can think of. It's going to be okay.
Wow. Wow. And you truly believe that?
Absolutely.
Because it has been okay.
It has been.
Yeah.
It hasn't been an easy journey, but it's okay.
Whew, child, that was a lot. What has grief taught you about love?
Oof.
I know that wasn't in the cards today.
It's okay. What has grief taught me about love? That don't take it for granted, especially the people who means a lot to you. Show them appreciation in the moment. Maximize the time that you have with them. You know, when my brother passed away, you know, I give his eulogy and I talk about time, which is today is my everything. And what I mean about that
That's
is...
deep. Today is my everything. Time.
Time. And it's all about maximize the experiences that you have with your loved ones, because in a split second, that could be taken away. And all you left with is, okay, I enjoyed every single moment. And there is no sense of regret.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they're going through grief, is that regret aspect. I mean, me, myself, I'm going through it with my mom, and it's like, I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have done that. I wish I could have done that. And I'm in the process of trying to rewire and train myself to kind of look at the glass half full versus half empty. Like, I'm so glad I had a mother who I had a relationship with. I'm so glad that we got to travel together. I'm so glad. Is there one thing, though, that you do wish that you would have done with either of your brothers?
So, before Unity passed, I remember he called me and he was asking me for something. And I just brushed him off and I was like, hey man, you gotta get your life together, or whatever, whatever. That was the last conversation we had.
Wow.
And when I went to his apartment, he had a picture of me in his Bible. And this was a 29-year-old man. And he always told my mother, I want to make my brother proud. So I carry with me that. But what pulled me through was, and it's taken a while for me to like get back to this place.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So you asked a very good question. That is all about perspective.
Yeah, now I'm crying. No.
That I impacted his life in such a manner that he looked up to me.
Wow.
And that I'm content with. That's the reason why I started the foundation. That's the reason why I help people as much as, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have this perspective on time, perspective on living a purposeful life, giving back to people, just being my genuine self, don't care about the accolades, the title, the degrees, and all those things. You know, often when people are going through some of life's toughest challenges, they think the world is over with, but it's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay. Back to it.
Right. I remember during my darkest time, I would wake up every morning and, you know, sense of gratitude and just say, Father, thank you for today. It's going to be okay. It's just that little pep talk, right? That gets you through the next day, the next day, the next day. And before you know it, you're over it. That's the first thing. The second thing is just perspective. You know, you can take some of the toughest challenge in life if you think about, this is the worst thing that can happen to me, and you anchor into that sorrow, it's going to drain you down.
Yeah.
But when you think about it in terms of it could be worse.
It could. It could.
And they'd certainly give you different perspective, right? So for me, to just sharing my experiences to people in that moment and just saying, no matter what you're going to go through, that's your superpower. Embrace it and just focus on overcoming it. Because if you focus on within your control, before you know it, you're on the other side of it.
Wow, that's great. I just want to thank you again for your time and doing this interview. And I really cannot wait until PowerTalk June 29th, where you will be giving us even more insight and gems on how to overcome grief and then a little bit more about your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.